What's going on, everybody? Ryan Thompson, the Assumable Guy. This is the Assumable Guy Show. Today we're talking to sellers. If you've got a low rate locked in and you're getting ready to sell, can you sell to an investor through an assumption? Short version, yes. And it might be the exact thing that gets your home sold faster and for more money. Here we go. So let me set the stage. You bought back in 2020 or 2021, you locked in a rate in the twos, maybe a 2.5%, maybe a 2.75%. Now, life's changed and you've got to sell. And here's what a lot of agents will tell you. They'll say your buyer is going to be a young family, a first-time buyer, somebody moving to town. And sure, that's a big pool. But here's something a lot of people don't know. There's a whole other group of buyers out there who would crawl over broken glass for your rate. Investors. Think about that for a second. An investor's entire game is the math, return on their money. And the single biggest lever on a rental property is the interest rate. So when an investor sees a home, they can pick up at a 2.5% rate instead of a 6.5% rate. That's not a little better. That's the whole ball game. Let me show you why. Say you've got a $400,000 loan at 2.5%. The payment on that, principal and interest, is right around $1,580 a month. Now that same investor, if they had to go get a brand new loan at 6.5% on the same property, they're looking at over $2,500 a month. That's a $1,000 a month swing on the exact same house. For somebody renting it out, that $1,000 is the difference between a property that bleeds money every month and one that actually cash flows, right? So why does this matter to you, the seller? 2 words, more buyers. When you market your home as assumable, you're not just attracting owner occupants. You're opening the door to every investor in a 100-mile radius who's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for a deal that finally pencils. More buyers competing for your home means a faster sale and a higher price. That's just how it works. Now, I got to be honest about something because there's a wrinkle here, and I want to make this super clear. It depends on what kind of loan you've got. If you've got a VA loan, this is where it gets good for the investor angle. Here's the thing most people don't realize. If you, the seller, are willing to leave your entitlement with the property, an investor who is not using their own VA entitlement can assume that loan, and they do not have to live in it. No occupancy requirement. They can rent it out from day one. That makes your VA home one of the most attractive investment properties on the entire market. If you've got an FHA loan, it's a little different. FHA assumptions require the buyer to actually move in and live there. So a pure investor who just wants a rental can't assume your FHA loan and flip it straight into a rental. But, and this is the part people miss, house hackers can. I had a buyer assume an FHA loan, move into 1 bedroom, and rent out the other 3. On paper, they're an owner-occupant. In reality, they're running it like an investment, and the tenants are covering most of the mortgage. So even with FHA, you're pulling in that investor-minded buyer, just a slightly different flavor. Let me give you a real example. I worked with an investor, Dilip. He put $50,000 down on a $550,000 property and assumed a 2.8% rate. Take a guess what that does to his return. Between the loan pay down from that low rate and a little appreciation, he's building somewhere around $24,000 in equity a year on a $50,000 investment. Tell me where you can get a better return than that. So when that seller listed their home as assumable, Dilip showed up ready to go. Full price, flexible on the timeline. That seller didn't lose a dime taking an investor. They got a clean, motivated buyer who moved fast. Now, I know what some of you sellers are thinking. Investors are going to lowball me. They always do, right? And normally, yeah, kind of. An investor's whole thing is buying below market so the numbers work. But here's what changes with an assumable. The low rate is already doing the heavy lifting on their return. They don't need to lowball you on price because they're getting their margin from the 2.5% rate. So a lot of times an investor will pay you full price or real close to it for an assumable when they'd never do that on a conventional deal. The rate is the discount. They don't need a second one. And this is the part that should get every seller fired up. When you put an assumable rate out there, you don't just get the one investor. You get investors and first-time buyers and house hackers all looking at the same listing. That's exactly what happened with a couple I worked with, Colin and Beth. They marketed their home as assumable and it brought in multiple competing offers. The competition drove the price up. They didn't even have to accept the assumable offer. Just having more people fighting for the home got them a better number. So picture 2 identical rental properties through an investor's eyes. Same price, same neighborhood, same rent. One they buy at 6.5% and it loses $200 a month. The other, they assume at 2.5% and it makes $800 a month. Which one are they fighting to buy? Think about that for a second. And which seller do you think gets the quick, clean, full price offer? You already know the answer. Little hack for you. If you've got a VA loan and you're not going to need your full entitlement again right away, leaving it with the property for an investor buyer can be the move that sells your home in 2 weeks instead of 2 months. You keep your remaining entitlement. Say your county limit is around $800,000 and your original loan was $350,000. You've still got a big chunk of entitlement left to use down the road. You do the math on what you've got, you leave the rest with the property, and you've just made your home the most wanted listing on the block. I promise you, I've seen this play out. Investors talk to each other. The good assumable deals get scooped up fast. So here's the bottom line for sellers. Don't let anybody tell you your buyer pool is small. Your low rate is a magnet. It pulls in first-time buyers, it pulls in house hackers, and it pulls in investors with cash ready to go. More buyers, more competition, higher price. That's the whole point. All right, let's go. I'm Ryan Thompson. This is the Assumable Guy Show. If you're a seller sitting on a rate in the twos and you want to know what your home is really worth to an investor, hit up assumableguy.com or DM me on Instagram at the.assumable.guy. I'll run the numbers for you. No pressure, just math. Next episode, we're getting into the difference between FHA and VA assumptions. What actually changes between the two, which one's easier to pull off, and which one opens more doors for you, whether you're buying or selling. You're going to want to know this before you touch either one. See you on the next one.